Hello, my name is John Rose, and in this video I'd like to take a closer look at the dark side of esoteric spirituality. Now, I've done quite a few videos along this line because there are a lot of belief systems out there that are taking away our responsibility. And what we have to understand about about certain things that are taking away our responsibility, some of our belief systems, is a lot of them have to do with things that we need, whether they are essential needs or subsequent needs. And the piece number I'm referring to in this video, if you want to look at it on my schematic, go to the Ultimate Schematic, John Rose, Google John Rose, the Ultimate Schematic, and you'll see where I created a special teaching tool where I identified all the pieces to the puzzle. And the piece number I'm talking about here is piece 7.5 when it's a problem of knowledge. But it's also one of our essential needs as 34.5. And this is where we have a subsequent need for religion and spirituality. Now, what we have to understand is that we're disconnected. What we really need is a community that we're connected to, because we don't feel connected anymore. Remember, we lost one of our senses. The fall of mankind is when we destroyed a nutrient that feeds one of our senses. And now we're senseless, and now we have 10 subsequent needs because we're senseless or we're disconnected because of the fall of mankind. And one of them is now we have to focus on religion and spirituality when we shouldn't have to. They should be an automatic. We shouldn't be told how to behave. We shouldn't be told to cooperate. We shouldn't be given 7 spiritual laws. We shouldn't be given 10 commandments. If we were not making the mistakes to begin with, if we don't correct the fall of mankind, virtually everything we do is a distraction, and that includes the dark side of religion and spirituality, because the people who rule the world have used those things against us. Remember, the root word for religion is religio, to connect. And the concept of spirituality is to feel the oneness of everything. But as I mentioned before in my video recently, that when we do that, it's a lot like having to squint to see. We have 6 senses, not 5. If our vision is impaired, and if we squint, we can see a little bit better. Well, our 6th sense is impaired. And religion and spirituality is sort of like squinting so we can feel connected better. So it is a very important need as long as the vast majority of us are disconnected. Even if we become reconnected ourselves, the main thing we're supposed to be connected to, the rest of us, they're disconnected. So everyone can benefit from our subsequent need for religion and spirituality. But those things, like all of our needs, whether it's air, water, or food, or whatever, can be used against us. How? Because it takes away our responsibility. And what am I saying here? Because the fall of mankind is when we start eating the wrong food. And the flaw with, or the dark side of esoteric spirituality is where they say, no, the forbidden fruit isn't eaten from the tree of knowledge, or it is, but what that really means is when we open up our 7 chakras too suddenly with an emphasis on our gonads rather than the pineal gland. So that's the forbidden fruit. And now the tree of life are not the fruit trees that is really the thing we need the most. The tree of life is now our spine. And the serpent, the snake, is not Lucifer, the bad guy. No, he's not the demon. No, he's Kundalini. And the key here for esoteric philosophy is we got to be careful about the Kundalini, because if we open up these 7 chakras too suddenly with an emphasis on our gonads rather than the pineal gland, we won't lead to God. We'll just degrade to nothingness. So this is a distraction. The fall of mankind is not the tree of knowledge of good and evil. For everyone who claims that is supposed to be an answer, I challenge every one of y'all to show me eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Show it to me. You can't. You see, it's taken away your responsibility. Now you can't correct anything. In the biblical version, when Eve ate that forbidden fruit, got kicked out of the garden. Now the trees of life are the trees of immortality. They're guarded. You can't come back in. That's why we kicked you out. We got a tree of immortality in here. This is how we're getting tricked once again into thinking there's a tree of immortality that's supposed to be relative to paradise. That doesn't solve anything. Do you really think immortality is what paradise is all about? or that paradise is all about having immortality. Now, if you're on the very later stages of life, you might almost think that way, right? But otherwise, that's not my vision of paradise. I get to live forever. Well, if we're living the way we are now, does that mean we're going to suffer forever too? No, it's nonsensical. That's not what the trees of life are. The trees of life are our needs. These are the fruit trees that feed us. And this is the fall of mankind, when we took things we mastered and applied it to the things we needed. And we started eating things we were meant to eat, even biologically. So, it's just like the Hegelian problem reaction solution. We'll create the problem, the sin. You ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now you got a tree of immortality instead. But guess what? You can't have it this life, but you got it in the next life and hereafter. So we're being tricked once more. That's all about this tree of immortality. So they tricked us in not focusing on our needs, the tree of life, the trees of life, our fruit trees, into now having it represent a tree of immortality. Don't focus on this life. It's nothing. It's the hereafter. It's immortal. You have it after, and all you got to do is just believe one thing. You just got to believe it. That's all. You don't have to do anything. Just believe. You see how we're being tricked and fooled, and they're taking away our responsibility. So it's not about the afterlife. It's not about being reincarnated. It's not about opening up our chakras so that we can not have to do this cycle of reincarnation anymore. It's not about opening up the chakras so suddenly that we're focusing on our gonads instead of the pineal gland. That's a distraction. The fall of mankind could be explained very simplistically. If I was God and I had children that I wanted to stay in the garden, you know what I'd do? I'd give them a feedback system so they can understand pleasure and pain. And I'd tell them, look, you got 2 trees in this garden and one law. Can't combine the 2. The biblical version, hey, 2 trees, you can eat from this one, but you can't eat from that one. What the hell does that mean? Can't eat from this tree? That doesn't make any sense. But if you have 2 trees, and you should only eat from this one, and then you can't apply this one to that one, that makes sense. And I can illustrate it. I can show it to you. I can show it to you. I can cook your food. You can eat animal products. You can eat plants you're not biologically adapted to eat. You can eat processed foods. I can process those foods. I can add chemicals to my foods. I can illustrate the fall of mankind. I can show you how to correct it. But of all those 5 things I just mentioned, it's the fire, it's the cooking. That's the thing we have to correct, because that's the fall of mankind. I can show that to you. The biblical version, no one can show you eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And then the yogis will say, I can show you. I can open up my chakras and look, you may not know it, but I'm emphasizing my gonads and not my pineal gland. But I can experience it. That's all that matters. Hey, yeah, I like that idea. Believe only your own experience. I know it's true. I'm speaking from experience. I know. I've been opening up those chakras so fast. I'm blowing my brain. Literally. That's all I do. I just meditate all day long. Focus on my gonads. And literally just blowing my brain off. I'm out of control. I need help. I know it's true. You see how we're being tricked? Now, I have nothing wrong. I have nothing against meditating and chakra systems and all that. You know, I've been doing this for a long time. I studied this for a long time. I'm not new to this. I was accused of being completely woefully ignorant on this subject. No, I know all about this. I've studied this probably longer than you're old. I just already know it's bullshit. The problem that most of us have is we don't have enough pieces of the puzzle to realize what we're being told is bullshit. If you don't know the real fall of mankind, then you can be told anything is the fall of mankind and believe it because you don't know any better. The problem is, for most of us, we simply don't have enough pieces of the puzzle. But that can change for all of us. You can do something you haven't done before. You can go where very few have gone and rise above the ideas of the time by taking a solid food vacation. If you go down below in the description box, you can check out the first of my 3-step process that I have as a link to. Put a couple videos up there to motivate you, the Deborah Duncan Show and the Dr. Roba interview, and then all the great testimonies of people doing this. And keep in mind, our brains have been bombarded by bullshit, and we have too many references that support the bullshit, and most of us simply don't have enough pieces of the puzzle to recognize bullshit when we see it. And I know, because I found the most valuable knowledge in the world 26 years ago. And I've been studying everybody who thinks they have a solution. And I'll be honest with you, I've studied so many of you guys, it's a joke to listen to what you guys think is the answer. If you don't have the solution, you can only halfway guess at what you think is the big picture. So what do? You go out there and you gather information on the hero's journey, and you add it to your list. You add it to your picture. And this is what I've done over the years, is I'm always gathering information, and as soon as I get new knowledge, I put it up there on the big picture, and I take a step back, and I look at it, and I go, now that I have more pieces to the puzzle, can I solve the clue? Does it make more sense? Oh, I got an answer to this question. Now let me see if does that answer everything? Oh no, it just makes me ask another question. And that goes on and on and on and on. And what you're going to do, if you keep doing that, you're going to go back to the first cause. People don't know the first cause. And if you don't think cooking's the first cause, you've been tricked and fooled into believing some other stupid belief system, like it has something to do with our chakra systems. How does that solve any problem? And again, I'm not saying that once we get reconnected, that maybe how we spend our whole day. Going through, open up the chakra systems and having all these great experiences. But that's not getting us out of the cave, and that's the point here. There's only one way to get out of Plato's cave. And that's to stop cooking the food. We got to correct the fall of mankind. Once we get up in paradise, then that's something we can talk about. But as long as we're in hell, we got to get out of hell. Now, I understand the concept that we want to plant our guard wherever we are. So I'm not saying that we can't do all these other things while we're in hell, but I'm telling you, it's not getting us out of hell. And that's the only goal that we should have as a species. That's the real meaning of life. I even did a video on that, the meaning of life. I'll put a link down below in the description box. Or just Google my name, John Rose, and what is the meaning of life? Because I come up #1 now in America under Google. And when you watch that video, you'll find that there's only one thing that we have to do. We're in hell. We got to get out of hell. Opening up our chakras aren't going to get us out of hell. Oh, it ends the cycle where we don't have to come back and do this anymore. Well, yeah, go ahead and bail out on everybody if that's really true. Is that what you believe? People are suffering around you. We can do something about that. That's what's exciting. And then once we can help the rest of us figure this out, then we can focus more energy on these other things and then finally make some sense out of it. Right now, until you actually experience those things, it's going to be hard to explain it to someone else. I understand that. Again, I've been doing this for a long time. But I know one thing for sure, my friends. When you do a solid food vacation, and you go the distance, and that's the key thing. When you go for the appropriate length of time, I can guarantee you, my friends, you're in for a treat.